Hi, and welcome back to the Potato Museum show. Today we're talking about not enough potatoes. The previous show was there were too many. We're going to talk about the scarcity issues. So, I started the potato project with my students in International School of Brussels, 1975, when we were discovering that the Belgians had to live off potatoes for 2 wars because the commercial crop was taken away, so they had to grow their own. And then a year after we started this project, potatoes were making headlines all over Europe because there was a shortage of potatoes caused by various climate issues, and so they were talking about trying to control the prices, importing American potatoes. Look at this. There was a real crisis because the Belgians love their frites. Not enough potatoes. Potato panic price spreads. And I wasn't necessarily going to continue the potato project, but then we saw headlines that a rise in potato prices, which would in turn lead to an increase in the cost of living index and an increase in index-linked salaries. And we who had been studying the potato realized, oh, this headline's not very hard to see, but it was making headlines in England as well. And they were outraged that a potato could cost more than an apple or an orange. And we, the kids and I, knew that the potato was extremely valuable, very nutritious, and should be more appreciated and valued, and not just think it's just something cheap, right, Meredith?
Absolutely.
So the more we looked into it, the more we found out that during World War I, Americans were feeding Belgian children because, again, the Germans took away most of the food and didn't care about feeding the Belgians. So Americans Herbert Hoover started a project to import wheat. And look at this. Look at this. You are lucky. The war bread that you get would seem like cake to the children of Europe. So there were all sorts of campaigns in the U.S. to eat more potatoes so that we could save the wheat to be sent over to feed the starving Belgians. And in France, the same thing, because the northern part of France was occupied by the Germans, and so there was hunger there. So the Americans were feeding French in northern. And what's this poster, Meredith?
Well, it was done by a 14-year-old girl. It was a part of a competition. Her name is Yvonne Verne, French, and it's one of our favorite objects, in fact. And it says, basically, eat fewer bread, eat less bread, and eat more potatoes. So that picture is clearly potatoes.
Yeah, and so here's another one. So you can see a little bag of wheat on third base and waiting to get home, and it says, here's the potato at bat, potato supply. When he makes a hit, it's a score for the Allies. So the whole idea was to save wheat for sending to Europe, the starving people of Europe, and eat more potatoes. So that happened, and here's a poster. Here, sir, at your service. Look at the potato guy arriving. This was a poster in Connecticut. Be patriotic, use more potatoes and ship more wheat, etc. And here's a poster that was showing all different ways that you could use potatoes, making donuts and pancakes. Help win the war by saving wheat, eat potatoes. And here's another thing encouraging home gardeners. Uncle Sam expects every war garden to do its duties. Look at who's the first one in line, is the potato. So the Brits had the same problem. And here's potato thumbing its nose at a German U-boat captain. There was a blockade of British ports and French ports by the Germans, so they couldn't get their supply of wheat from overseas colonies, so they had to eat more wheat. Here's a Frenchman. Look at this, Meredith.
Yeah, he says, wait a minute, pourquoi? I can't see quite. Always eat potatoes.
Oh, right.
That's all I ever get, potatoes.
So potatoes were used to promote the war effort. Look at this. Here's a potato head guy saying, I'm something swag about, I'm going in the trenches, and that's more than some of you are doing. So to try to...
How come all these postcards?
Yeah, I'm going to get to it.
But why would people buy these postcards?
Okay, I'm going to just...
You have an answer?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So I see you're in the trenches at last, growing potatoes, which was important almost as fighting. The Germans used the potato to mobilize their forces. Here, look at this little... And these kids are waving the German flag and a big potato talking about it. After the war, by the way, the Germans were very food insecure and they had lots of problems with their currency. Look, the communities were issuing note geld, they called it, and the scene on this local currency money was digging potatoes and trading them. So what happened was there was a shortage of potatoes, because they had to start sending potatoes to the troops. The Germans were well supplied with potatoes, and maybe so a publisher started printing cards that people could send to one another and to remember the potato, because there were no potatoes, or there were being
Wait.
rationed.
You meant, whoa.
This is in England.
Okay, all right. So, all right.
So
no wheat, grow more potatoes, and then no...
And no potatoes.
And then no potatoes.
Yeah, they had to ration the potatoes as well as the wheat. Exactly.
Let's hear it for war.
And so look at these wonderful cards, the potato that people would send to each other saying, I'm writing just a line to say I cannot dine with you today. Here's, I cannot send you banknotes, I cannot send you gold, but this sugar and potato are more than wealth untold. Of course, sugar was rationed as well in England. Look at this one. I wonder if you'll miss me sometimes. And then after the war, or soon, was when potatoes, everybody started growing potatoes, there was a much better crop, and so they started putting cards out saying, nobody bothers about me now like they used to. I wish I was a lump of sugar, because sugar, of course, was still rationed. And then here's one, I used to be somebody a bit, since now I'm nobody. I wish I hadn't grown. And the printing of these and the illustrations are wonderful. Now we're going to move over to World War II.
Oh, goody.
Now, food...
I don't see it, though.
Food will win this war, too.
Oh, that's where... They don't look world... Well, okay.
Yeah, it is. And the British had this whole campaign with Potato Pete. Look at his little buddy. And they put up recipe books because, again, the potato was being used to fight the war, because the potatoes were being sent to the troops, and they had to, again, conserve wheat. So look, there's these recipes. Look at cute little Potato Pete. All these different recipes. So that's part of what motivated us to keep going with this project, because we realized that there was so much more to the potato story and how it has affected people with scarcity. These, by the way, were called scarcity cards, or with surpluses, which we did a previous video on. So thanks for joining us on the Potato Museum Show. See you again. We love your comments and questions. We try to answer all of them. And don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends about all this. See you again next time.